Hello, my name is Sky. I do video game miniatures. I made the heart of Click Clock Wood from Banjo Kazooie out of paper, and I'm here to show it off. The first part I'm creating is the turntable, featuring the 4 seasonal facades. I cut the parts for this element from ply paper, which is a fabrication of my own. Using spray adhesive, I laminate layers of Bristol paper or cardstock to create sheets in the thicknesses that I require. In order to construct this, I use ply paper to build up the rotating platform and the central tree shaft, the same way a carpenter frames out platforms and walls. With the skeleton created, I skinned the framed tree core by adding individual strips of cardstock to create a tapered shell. And now I begin to apply the bark texture. Using irregularly cut strips of double and triple thick Bristol ply paper, I slowly add these to the faces of the walls. I make sure to apply glue liberally and then feather it all out with a wet brush. Using a 2-ply toilet paper, I rip and glue these sections of TP to the walls to soften the geometric texture and give the walls a slightly more organic touch. And then I begin making the shell and base. The first part to create is the base that the turntable nestles into, which also functions as a cantilevered platform for Banjo and Kazooie to stand on. Once these platforms are constructed, I create a larger platform to act as a large base out of a no-good, horrible, dumb, cheap mat board, which I primarily use for structure. I'll use this again later, you'll see. I add a curved platform which meets with what will be the front of the turntable. I then zap a disc of acrylic and cut a sheet of felt, and this functions as the sliding element. I chose these materials so that it spins freely by hand, but it also has enough friction to stop on a dime. Then I apply a wet crackle paste treatment to the bark. This helps to fill in gaps and also features the additional benefit that when this substance dries, micro cracks will emerge, which enhance the tree texture. I quickly whip up a canopy frame for the frosted acrylic, which will sit at the top of each of the seasonal entrances. Then I dig and score vertically into the bark with my blade in an erratic manner. I add one more mapboard platform to bump the whole diorama up. Then I fabricate the upper shell using the same mapboard, creating these tapered hogs troughs, and sandwich these between two open discs to create a large circular frame. Then I skin these frames with a couple layers of cardstock, and then glue the frames into place. Then I build up the bottom with matboard to carry the tapered shape of the stump all the way down and cover the exposed frame with single layers of board. I cut these organic shapes for the bottom of the cantilevered apron. And then build out the topography on the top. And apply paper mache treatment to the whole extension. Then I begin the long process of applying bark texture to the exterior of the large stump. I use quadruple laminated mat board and I cut a mountain of this texture. I'm tearing it, I'm carving it, I'm clipping it, and gluing it until it's completely covered. Then I am applying thin toilet paper mache to solidify the entire shell. From here, I create the overhead lighting box, which will also function as the top of the stump. I've designed this piece so that I can install flexible white LED strip into the larger pocket, and then I run the wires through and out the back. On top of this, I curl double and triple thick Bristol ply paper to create the tree rings. I make sure to use a whole lot of glue so that everything stays cemented. And I clean it with a brush before I apply a wet crackle paste treatment. I apply bark texture to the interior reveal on the stump so that there's a semblance of texture as the inside spins, and then I load the exterior with crackle paste. Then I flock the earth terrain with tea grounds. This is your ordinary black tea. It's specifically celestial cinnamon apple spice, so this step makes my studio smell just great for a single day. Then I chop small stones from strips of double thick Bristol ply paper and I glue them on one at a time, feathering the glue out with a wet brush. I add a tea texture to the grass landings, but soften them by stippling with a heavier glue treatment because this will end up covered in grass. Then I dig and score the exterior bark texture, this time in a much deeper fashion. From there, I quickly cut together the jiggy pad, which will serve as the handle for the axle. I make the stump that Banjo and Kazooie stand on from a block of Bristol, and then texture the outside with thin strips of ply paper. Then I put together the Click Clock Wood sign by starting with a simple light box. I glue this into place with a load of glue and clean it up with a wet brush. I give the whole thing a dry fit now to make sure that it feels good. Then I cut the portholes for the windows in either side of what is the proscenium. I route a path for plastruct conduit using a long drill bit to drill down to the backside of both portholes. Then I cut 2 short lengths of conduit and epoxy these in place with a 5-minute epoxy. By loosely quilling a strip of cardstock, I install these in the portholes and glue them into place. I ensure that the material is tight to the frame using the handle of a brush or a pencil. Then I patch these in with just a little bit of glue, some bark strips, and a touch of crackle paste. I make a simple curved bridge from double thick Bristol ply, and then I apply the stones to the whole exterior. The stone pathways and bridge all get a wet crackle paste treatment acting as a grout and light texturing. I remove material for the bridge to cement into, and I glue it in place, then patch it with stones and crackle paste. Then I cut and install these seasonal emblems made from Bristol paper. I create an octagonal BK pad from 2 layers of Bristol paper, one for the pad and the other for the Banjo and Kazooie seal. This will be the backer for the valence of leaves. It's made from mat board and then it's glued into the curve. I cut and assemble Nabnut's door from a few layers of Bristol paper. I carve out a pocket to install it into. Then I make the log platform from a 6-layer sheet of Bristol ply paper, carving the wood grain into the piece before I install it. And now I start making figures. I begin with the most difficult, the ice cube enemy. I glue together a giant block of Bristol and I sand it down. I face the exposed edges in Bristol, chamfer or bevel all the edges, sand it down one more time, carve some bubbly eyeballs out of triple thick Bristol ply, and then I glue these in place. Now for the Grublin hood. I start with a profile of his head and body, building out the gut, then cut a profile for his head and double that up. I chop the jaw off so that I can shape the forward profiles. Then glue these into place on the head. Build out the cheeks, shape the body so he's made from traditionally round N64 polygons. Give him buck teeth. Cut out some legs, building up the boots with a few layers of Bristol. Round these off. Then glue those into place. Prepare some goofy arms. Build up the hands, round these off as well. Prepare a pointy hat. Make a little scarf. Wrap it around his neck with a little bit of glue. Sand and glue the pointy hat. Then give it a little feather, and finally attach some long pointy ears. Now for the big clucker, I prepare 2 chunks of Bristol ply paper in a beak profile, carve and sand them, then glue together. Make a round chunk of Bristol ply paper for the head, glue these together. Make this grumpy pair of eyes. Carve a notch for them to land in. Then make the bird's feathered crest by cutting, shaving, curling, and then gluing into place. Make a neck piece from quadruple thick Bristol ply. Make the porthole from 2 layers of double thick Bristol ply. And finally glue the porthole into the spring facade. The Buzz Bomb starts with a side profile built up and rounded off. We remove the head to build up the profiles and round this off. Carve a giant pair of eyeballs and install them. Then make 4 wiggly arms, just like the Grublin Hood. This time, the Buzz Bomb gets thumbs. You cut 2 pairs of wings and then glue everything together. I quickly make a snare bearer by cutting the sharp-leafed profile. I curl the points of the petals, and then reinforce the curls with glue. I cut a slightly round block with petals to act as the base. Then prepare a pair of round eyeballs and glue them on. For the hive, I make a tapered box faced with individual boards, all made from double thick Bristol ply. I cut a small hole in the top panel. Prepare a scored and burnished panel for the pitched roof. Glue teeny tiny legs into place. Make another set of round eyeballs. Then make a batch of round bees with little wings from a strip of 6 thickness Bristol ply and cardstock. Then we make Banjo and Kazooie, starting with the head, body, and legs as a profile. We make toad feet, build up the blocky profile of his head, slice and shave the forward profile, give him a snout, give him a lower jaw. Build up his chest. We want him thick. Build out his cheeks. Give him a tiny pair of eyes. Give him a button nose. Add the front of the shorts. Give him square ears. Round all the edges off. Everywhere. Build up the back of his head, his back, and his butt. Give him a belt and straps for the backpack, both of these made from cardstock so they can be manipulated easily. Build up some chunky arms. We're going to stop these at the wrist. Round the arms off. Cut him some hands. This piece is his palm and fingers. Give his fingers a curl. Then add the thumb. Finally, give him a blocky backpack. Then make Kazooie, starting with her wingspan, starting with the feathers, then sandwich this between 2 curved pieces of cardstock to build up the arms. Round these off. Cut her head and torso profile, building up the torso first. rounding this off so it tapers into her neck. Then build up her head so she gets her big cheeks. Shave down the forward profile of her lower jaw and then give her a sharp pointy beak. Curl the wings. Finally, add her 3 feathered crest and little eyeballs. Now to paint. To start with, I spray prime the larger elements with a rattle can Rust-Oleum in a gray, then a black, then a dusting of brown. The smaller elements I coat in a thin layer of Liquitex white gesso. All of this is to protect the paper. Paper can get ruined by washes and dry brushes and all sorts of wet paint, so I like to make sure everything is sealed in. And now I'm actually painting. From here, I go up and down. I get a good color blocking in, and then I use dry brushes to increase contrast and washes to tone contrast down. The paint part of the process is all organic for me. I'm not an incredible painter, and typically the middle 80% of the paint process is made up entirely of me just trusting that I can get it there. So I'm not going to say very much here. I'm just going to let you watch how this takes form. If you're an incredible painter with a dedicated process that you are 100% confident in, feel free to look away. I will say that here I am aiming to tone the seasonal facades in slightly different tones and help build distinctions between them as the turntable spins. I think that this element came out pretty nice. Alright, here I'm installing the power box, which I designed and laser cut. In order to install it, I carve material out of the shell and then I glue this into place, spreading the glue so that it fills all of the seams. Then I apply a grass flocking from Woodland Scenics. This is a mixture of their fine and coarse turf in a medium green. I decided to commit to placing the Grublin Hood and Big Clucker, so I secure these in with a 5-minute epoxy from Bob Smith Industries. I prep a batch and hold the Big Clucker in place until the epoxy is cured. Then I prep another batch of epoxy to secure the clear acrylic panels into the top. I frost these using a frosted glass spray from Rust-Oleum, which helps to diffuse the light. Then I touch up and tone the grass flocking towards a color that I think is more befitting of Banjo-Kazooie, and I give the Winter Facade's base a whitewash. Then I paint up the BK pad. For the snowbanks, I apply and spread glue, then I cover with a baking soda. I prepare construction paper for the valance of leaves by applying a deep green wash, which is then stippled with a wide brush to even the whole thing out. I do this to both sides and then I hang it up to dry. Once dry, I lay out the leaves with a yellow watercolor pencil. And then go to town cutting these out. Then I apply them, flat at first and then bundled together to build up the volume. I prep a sheet of construction paper just like the leaves, this time in an orange and a yellow tone, and I cut these into strips, then mince them up into tiny leaves so I can apply them to the autumn facade. The bees and the buzz bomb all float, so I prep 5-minute epoxy and thin clear acrylic rod. After letting the epoxy cure for just a touch, I attach the insects to the ends of the acrylic rod. I prepare the summer grass by yellowing it out with a creamy yellow wash. Then I get my static grass applicator out. I load it with short yellowed grass. I apply and spread glue, then static the grass to the glue, shake it off, and give it one more pass before dusting the field with a yellow flower powder from Woodland Scenics. I touch up the bees and buzz bomb where they were glued to their paint stand. Then using a sharp scratch awl, I poke holes in the summer facade. I load the holes with epoxy and then install the bees. Then I dab the hive in the epoxy and I hold it in place. Then I do the same with the buzz bomb and the autumn facade, and while I'm at it, I install Banjo and Kazooie too. Now I need to make the actual ice cube. I glue this block to the bottom as a stand. I epoxy the stand to the bottom of this cup. Then I prepare this silicone rubber from Smooth On. This is Moldstar 16 Fast. It cures super quick in about 30 minutes. I stir this for about 4 minutes until there are no streaks. I pour this into the bottom of the cup and I let it build up over top of the ice cube. I set this aside for the night to ensure it cures completely. I cut the mold open, remove the original, and prepare for clear resin casting. I place these clear plastic dams on either side of the river with hot glue. Then I mix the clear resin, which I've prepared by warming in a pot of hot water for 15 minutes beforehand. This is so helpful for eliminating microbubbles in the final casting. I stir this for about 6 minutes before I drop 3 drops of white dye and 1 drop of blue dye. Then I stir until the resin has no streaks at all. I use a plastic syringe to put the resin in the river, using a toothpick to help it move under the bridge, and then I pour what's needed into the ice cube mold. Then I set it aside for the night. From here, I prepare to frost the sign by using tracing paper and applying it to the back of the clear acrylic inside of the sign. To prepare all 4 of the lighting elements, I prep different lengths of white LED strip as well as lengths of 28 gauge black and red wire. I prep the pads with solder so that I can zap these on quickly. I route the wiring through the channel, then use the adhesive backing to place these strips where they need to go. Then I epoxy a strip of colored gel to augment the color temperature of this overhead lighting, then install the lighting for the sign. Using a routing hook fashioned from thin brass, I feed the wire through the conduit and stuff the LED strips into these holes. Then I fix a batch of epoxy and secure the lights and loose wire into place in all 4 locations. I carve a route into the upper shell for the wiring to route around the power box and hot glue the wiring into place using an industrial grade hot glue. I then prepare a soldering board so I can turn all 4 red wires into 1 positive wire and all 4 black wires into 1 neutral wire. I solder these together and then cover it with a bit of shrink tubing. Then carve a pocket in the shell above the power box. Hot glue the loose wires into place and secure a cover over top of that with epoxy. I install the turntable and prepare a massive batch of epoxy so that I can permanently install the overhead lighting element into place. Then I epoxy the axle with the jiggy pad into its place. Then I make the windows and missing letter parts for the sign. I install these letters with epoxy and give it a quick touch-up. For the windows, I apply colored gel over tracing paper, which has been attached to clear plastic. Then I epoxy the windows to that plastic and trim it to fit. Then I wire in the battery and the power switch to the back. I epoxy the sign and windows into place. I patch up the gaps in the windows with a thin treatment of crackle paste. I use a very thin treatment of crackle paste with a wet brush to create slight white ripples in the water. Then pull the finished ice cube from the mold. Give it a quick inspection. Cut the block off the bottom. Cut the eyes off the top. Then wet sand all sides and edges from 400 grit up to 3000 grit to create a slightly frosted but smooth finish. Before final touch-up, I install these rubber feet with epoxy and a screw to lift the piece up off the ground and give it a steady hold as the seasons are turned. And from here, I go to town on final touch-ups. Thank you so much for watching. I don't often get the time to cut a whole video together like this so that you can get a glimpse into the process, but I am aiming towards doing this more with future projects, so I would say keep an eye out. I think this came out just great, and I'm so excited to get this into the hands of the client who commissioned this piece. I want to thank them for the honor of creating a banjo piece for them, as well as my patrons. There's no better time to say thank you to all of you for your continued support. If you did enjoy this glimpse, let me know with a like. Better than that, a comment. Better than that, share this video with your friends. Go ahead, click that little share button. I'll just be here. I'm just spinning this around. We